Hi everyone. We are going into campaign mode once again this evening because there is an absolutely ridiculous situation that is playing out in India's national capital. What is the job of the system or a government? Their job is to ensure governance that makes the life of a citizen easy. Their job is not to create difficulties for citizens or harass them even if they are complying with Supreme Court orders. But that is exactly what is happening in Delhi. Vehicles are being impounded without giving citizens any notice. Cars are simply being picked up from outside people's homes and offices without even the basic courtesy of informing them. Yes, the Transport Department is following the Supreme Court orders. But has the Supreme Court in its 2018 orders said that people shouldn't be informed before their vehicles are impounded? No, it hasn't. Let me tell you what the Supreme Court had said in 2018. Basically, upholding an NGT order to control Delhi's escalating pollution levels, the Supreme Court did two things. One, it banned diesel vehicles above the age of 10 and petrol vehicles above the age of 15 from plying in the NCR. That's the National Capital Region. It also said that vehicles older than 15 years parked in public places can be impounded. 55 lakh vehicles in Delhi were deregistered. That is 35% of Delhi's vehicles. But overage vehicles continued to ply, so the Delhi government launched a special drive on March 29th this year and has been impounding vehicles, 3,000 so far. But much to the chagrin of citizens, their vehicles are being picked up without any prior warning or notice. Is that how government drives are supposed to work? By harassing citizens? By picking up vehicles parked outside their homes and offices? Well, some citizens did go to court. In one case, a family heritage car was impounded from right outside the family's home without any notice. The lady herself, a government official, went to the Delhi High Court and said that the government seized her vehicle and sent it for scrapping even as she was exploring the option to convert it to an electric vehicle. The court put a stay on the scrapping. Ladies and gentlemen, a government cannot deal with citizens in such a ham-handed manner. In any case, there is a disquiet about the entire concept of scrapping vehicles just because they are 10 or 15 years old. Your petrol vehicle may be very well maintained. It may not even have done, say, 30,000 or 40,000 kilometers. It may have a pollution under control certificate. Then why should it be scrapped? Can you treat the automotive industry like fast fashion and change cars every 10 or 15 years? Of course, carbon emission is a problem. Anyone who lives in Delhi knows that with every breath he or she takes. But every new car you produce, especially electric vehicles, leave a massive carbon footprint as well. Every new vehicle, especially electric vehicles, come at a high environmental cost as well. Isn't it then the most environmentally friendly thing to do to let a vehicle run as long as it can with a PUC in place? Nowhere in the world, ladies and gentlemen, is force used to implement a policy like scrappage. It is incentive that is used. Canada, China, the US, Germany, all have offered cash and discounts. They haven't gone around towing vehicles without informing owners. Delhi's transport minister is on record saying that to impound and scrap parked vehicles is unfair. And yet that drive has resumed. Our campaign is called Old Car Not Bekar. It runs through the week and we hope that you will fuel it with your participation. We are opening up our phone lines right away, so do call us. Let's begin though by showing you what happened in Delhi with a citizen. This is Aditya Agarwal tweeting out this video after his vehicle was being towed away without a notice. This is the conversation he has. Just listen into the entire thing.
नहीं बिल्कुल आप 2 दिन नोटिस तो दे सकते थे ना सर। आप खुद एक इंसान की तरह सोचिए, आपकी कोई चीज इस तरह से उठा के ले जाएगा गाड़ी? नहीं जा तो रही है। नहीं अरे तो आप बता तो सकते हैं ना, आप बता तो सकते हैं ना। आप मुझे तो सब मत बोलिए, एक से बात कीजिए, कोई एक बंदा बात कीजिए, फिर हम आप पीछे हो जाइए, पीछे जी कोई बात नहीं।
क्या अब बता दीजिए।
हमने आपसे ये कहा, हमें सिर्फ 2 दिन का टाइम या 1 दिन का टाइम दे दीजिए।
अब सुनिए मेरे को,
हाँ।
ये ड्राइव चल रही है, इसके अंदर टाइम नहीं देते किसी को।
नहीं तो ये तो कोई कानून ही नहीं हुआ ना। अब उठा के हमें उठा के ले जाए कि हमने तो पेपर में छपवा दिया था और आपको ले जाएंगे उठा के।
ऐसा नहीं होता, आप ही की गाड़ी नहीं उठ रही, पूरी दिल्ली में गाड़ी।
नहीं देखिए, गलत चाहे सिर्फ मेरे साथ हो रहा हो या गलत सबके साथ हो रहा हो, गलत तो गलत है। मैं तो ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि किसी को आपको अच्छा शांत हो जाओ जरा 2 मिनट।
Now, that's the sort of situation that is developing in many colonies in Delhi, especially in South Delhi. Nikunj Garg, you're the managing editor of Mirror now. You're joining us on the broadcast. And before I go to my guests, I want you to explain to our viewers why exactly we are mounting this campaign. Because many people can turn around and say, hey, this is a 2018 Supreme Court order. And what the Transport Department is doing is simply implementing their order.
Well, all of those people, Shreya, must listen to the minister in charge of that department. Mr. Kailash Gehlot, a well-meaning, I am assuming a well-meaning public servant, is the minister in charge, and cautioning his own department, said very clearly that parked vehicles cannot be towed. The minister obviously also had a reading of the Supreme Court's order. Nowhere I will come to that part later actually, but first let me actually explain to our viewers why are we doing this campaign. I am not doing this campaign because I have in quarrel with the Supreme Court's order, or I am doing this campaign because I have a problem personal or private or on a public forum, apropos the scrappage policy. My intention of doing this campaign is very simple. This country is governed by a constitution. That constitution puts the rights of the citizens as supreme. Till as late 70s, right to property was a fundamental right in this country, enshrined in the constitution. It was changed 2 years back. Supreme Court said that right to private property is a human right. You violate it, you violate human rights. That is the Supreme Court of this country. More importantly, in any country, the way citizens are treated decides the level of maturity of that country in terms of its democratic rights, in terms of its democratic flourish, as how citizens' rights are respected. Is this the way that we are going to treat the citizens in this day and age, 21st century? When we call ourselves, our Prime Minister calls, Honorable Mr. Modi calls this country as the mother of democracy, that citizens are crying on the streets and the department is throwing away their vehicles. Who has given that right to the department? My quarrel is with the fact that the citizens' rights are being trampled over by a department which many citizens today believe, and those citizens have contacted us, written to us, has gone rogue in cahoots. Citizens are writing this, I am not saying this, in cahoots with certain private operators. Now, you implement a policy, Shreya, under the CRPC and under the law of this country, even if you are accused of murder, which is an obvious wrong and obvious right case, you are called for questioning. You cannot be arrested without questioning. Unless someone has seen you, there's a smoking gun right in your hand. Now, here is a situation where the citizen does not know the car parked outside his own house's boundary wall or even at the gate of his house is being picked up without a notice. I mean, you have deregistered vehicles. What does that mean? You obviously have the addresses of those vehicles in your databases. Why can't you deliver those notices? Why can't you give adequate time to the citizens? This entire drive, I am sorry to say, with my long experience in public reporting, covering crime, covering city, for years together, multiple chief ministers, I can tell you, smacks not only of arrogance, not only of trampling over the citizens' rights, but also of corruption.
Correct.
And that is why,
Correct.
that is why I am raising this issue on this channel, on this network, and I will continue to push for an answer from the authorities, including Mr. Gehlot, and going forward, the authorities in the central government, and ask them that what is stopping the governments from serving citizens a notice.
It's just a message away.
Absolutely.
All of us have WhatsApp.
I think you have a caller, Shreya. We can
Yes.
probably call the caller. Then we will continue this debate with discussion.
Let's go to our first caller then.
Absolutely.
And speak about the corruption part, because there are a lot of viewers who have spoken about corruption between the mafia that is just waiting for these cars to be out of the system for them to be sold to other states. Narayan, you're calling us from Delhi. Good evening. Please go ahead.
Delhi. I am calling from Delhi. How come this order has been retrospectively applicable purchased, I paid tax for 15 years. I paid a price for 15 years diesel car, already and
No, I'm afraid, Narayan, your audio is not very clear. I'm afraid your audio is not very clear. We'll try and patch. We'll try and patch with you again.
Tell them to repatch.
Guys, we'll repatch Narayan once again. His audio is not very clear. We can't hear him very clearly. But anyhow, Nikunj, continue.
Yeah,
the point you were
the
making.
fact of the matter is, to begin with, as I said, the Constitution says the rights of the citizens are supreme. Now, those rights are being trampled over right in the heart of the national capital. And people are begging on the streets. I mean, what are you reducing your citizens to, beggars? For people who have spent money, lakhs of their hard-earned tax paid. Remember, Shreya, on top of every penny paid in tax, vehicle taxes are in the tune of lakhs of rupees, from road tax to all other kinds of taxes that are paid on vehicles run into lakhs of rupees. Now, those very owners of the car you are reducing to beggars just because there is a arrangement that is working which is completely opaque. I'm stopping short right now of calling it corrupt, but I'm calling it opaque, absolutely opaque, and the corruption is being alleged by the citizens who are facing the brunt of this drive. Can there be no public proclamation? There are multiple ways in today's day of technology where you can inform citizens by just a single click. Prime Minister of this country disburses lakhs of crores of rupees by a single click. By a single click, cannot these 55 lakh vehicle owners whose vehicle have been deregistered, and I'm sure I can take a bet with you, they will not move beyond some thousands in figures, because those vehicles have all already migrated from Delhi.
Correct.
Right? And can they not be informed? Is it not in their rights? Is something wrong to expect before this kind of force? And you see the ladies, elderly women, young men, children, I mean, being treated in the most cavalier manner. And this is a government department providing cover against the wishes of the, in our scheme of constitution, departments are governed by a public representative. That representative happens to be the minister from the states to the government of India. If the Home Minister tomorrow, Home Minister of this country, Mr. Amit Shah, tomorrow decides that as policy of this country, A thing will happen and B thing will not happen under the transaction of business rules of Ministry of Home Affairs, officials have no word. The minister has expressed his wishes very clearly. The Supreme Court order bars the vehicles which have been deregistered. In any case, Supreme Court order is not required. Section 128A. And I can tell anybody, I have done a full comprehensive work on this on ground when I was a crime reporter. Section 128A of the MV Act very clearly says any vehicle which has been deregistered can be impounded. There is no gainsaying that people have some additional experience. But the problem is that the parked vehicles, nowhere is it said that you will forcibly lift those parked vehicles without giving citizens even a chance to make the next move. Either they park those vehicles inside their houses. If the citizens are given the chance of parking the vehicle inside their houses, migrating it to other cities, who's losing here? There's nobody's loss. Quite clearly, people are benefiting from lifting those vehicles. Who are the people who are benefiting? And why is the Transport Department a bit? Those are very questions that needs to be asked.
Those are questions citizens in any case are answering.
Absolutely.
And we have two of them with us. Narayan,
Yeah,
I hope
please,
we can hear you. I hope
go ahead.
The line is clear and we can hear you clearly this time. So we have two citizens calling us from Delhi. Let's start with Narayan. Hi Narayan, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening. My question is why this NGT order is applicable. When I purchased that time, no such 10 years NGT issue order. And we paid a tax for 15
Yeah, you have a valid point.
And I have a tax paid for 15 years. And
Okay.
second thing, how can I do this?
Narayan, again, bad audio, but I get the point you're making and it's a valid point. The NGT order had come in 2014.
Absolutely. And if I have bought my vehicle in 2013, I mean, how am I being punished? Retrospectively, even the criminal laws do not apply.
Manohar, you're calling us from Delhi. Go ahead.
Please.
Good evening.
Keep taking your calls.
Hello.
Yes, Manohar, good evening. Please go ahead.
I am a citizen of 82 years old. And my car was the police help by the government without any notice. Can you hear me, Shreya?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Manohar. You are telling me that your car was impounded by the government without any notice. What did they tell you? I'm sure you had a word with them. What did they tell you?
In my absence. And they have not given me any refund, any amount or any receipt. Now the police says we have never elected. I went to police station.
Without a notice and without a receipt. Without a receipt and without any compensation. Mr. Manohar, thank you very much. Let's quickly go across to our next caller. Giri, you're calling us from New Delhi. Please go ahead. Giri, hi, good evening. If you can hear me, please go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, we seem to be we seem to be having a little problem there.
You have another caller, I sense.
Do we have another caller? Let me go across to Pankaj, who's again calling us from Delhi. Pankaj, go ahead. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening, Shreya and Nikunj. I think it's a very apt topic you've picked up. We citizens are being harassed. How can you give a life of a vehicle which is there in steel and metal and rubber which last for years and years and just be discarded like that? We also need to understand the high level people who have got these laws made. That is point number one I want to bring out. And secondly, why has nobody, the Supreme Court needs to give this NGT judgment as bad in law completely. As Nikunj has brought out, the citizens have certain rights. And this NGT order has completely discarded the citizens' rights. Supreme Court needs to take cognizance of this suo motu and stop this malpractice happening to us. How can we are we expected to buy a car every 10 years, every 15 years? Does a salaried person have that kind of money? No car today, worth its salt costs less than 10, 15, 20 lakhs. Are we expected to spend this money from our salaries every 10, 15 years? The industrialist OEMs of these vehicles are the ones who have got this policy made. They openly, on Twitter and social media make these claims that yes, we've got this law made for our business and for profit. This is completely bad in law from all perspectives, and all of them you've covered, Shreya and Nikunj. This needs to be scrapped completely. Voluntary is fine, but not... Yeah.
Thank you, Pankaj, for calling us.
Let him finish.
But no, I just wanted to make the point, Nikunj, that he says the Supreme Court should have a relook. The fact is that the Supreme Court is the one that has upheld the NGT order. I think
that is fine. That is fine. I am not in the. I've told you I'm not in the quarrel with the Supreme Court's order. I'm not even in the at this moment as I speak, not in the quarrel with the NGT order also. I am talking about the manner in which the citizens are being treated, hiding behind that cloak of Supreme Court and NGT order. My concern are my fellow citizens. This channel, this company has invested hundreds of crores of rupees to express the citizens' concern. And I, as the editor of this channel, I'm not going to cow down because there is a Supreme Court order or then an NGT order. I am not in the quarrel. As I repeatedly am saying, we have full respect for Supreme Court. This company, this media house, which is the biggest in this country, has full respect for the Supreme Court and any judicial adjudicating body like the NGT. However, under the garb of those orders, citizens cannot be maltreated, and I'm 100% sure that if this matter is taken up even by the bench of the Chief Justice of this country or the High Courts or the NGT, they will never allow disrespect and trampling over the rights of the citizens of this country.
So let me go across to a petitioner who's actually gone to the Supreme Court because his vehicle was again impounded without any notice. Anurag Saxena, you're joining us. Sonica Ghosh, again a petitioner in the case, joining us. Tejinder Bedi is someone who's petitioned against the order. on change.org and has got some 50,000 supporters. And Dilip Cherian is founder Perfect Relations, joining us on the broadcast as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us. Just by the way, our phone lines are still open. We want you, the citizens, to call us because I'm sure you have a story to share as well. For the moment, Anurag Saxena, can you tell our viewers why exactly you went to court?
We went to the court primarily to make sure that the NGT order is flawed in its basic essence. The basic issue was in 2014, which was that all cars which were of Bharat Stage 1 and Bharat Stage 2 should be banned. We agree to that. But today, as Nikunj sir was saying, that today the vehicles which are having the same band of pollution norms are being targeted. The cars which have the same band of emissions, one is being picked up just because it is more than 10 years, other is being picked up because it is more than 15 years, and this rule, why? Aren't the most polluted cities even in there in Kolkata? We did the entire research. We made a big copy of our petition. We said very clearly and honestly that this law of NGT needs to be revoked only because the issue is that it is something which harms the equality, harms the fundamental rights of the citizens. Forget owning property, but it harms because basically because of discrimination which is there. This discrimination is what is irking the common man. Today, 2014 order, 2017, the cars were still being registered. 2019, the cars were still being registered for 15 years and 15 years apiece, even diesel, even petrol. When the order came, when the Honorable Supreme Court ordered in 2018, why were the cars being registered? Lakhs of rupees were being taken by this own government. And this particular money has gone to the drains for everyone because their cars will be deregistered after 10 years. The compensation which the government is offering is peanuts. It's a mere 5% of your registration amount of a new vehicle. There is no scrappage as such. So what does the person do? The man on the streets is affected. And nobody is hearing that. We are literally at our wits' end.
That is true. So,
as to why this particular NGT order cannot be revoked, which is the genesis of the entire malfunctioning of the entire system which we have right now. As Tejinder sir said, that, you know, there are more than 50,000 plus citizens who are there on his change.org. We made an entire research. We spent more than 6 months trying to find out. Even the cleanest city in the world, which is in Australia, doesn't have such kind of blasphemous rule. We need to do something about it.
All right. Okay. Do stay with us. I am going to go across to another caller, Captain Jaspal, who's calling us. Captain Jaspal, go ahead. Good evening, please.
Shreya, I will comprehensively cover all the points. Number one, that without your old car, you can never get back to a new car until unless you dispose of it in time or you get the good value. Second, what is the law? Law says show cause is to be given. You have to be told why you are doing this, fellow, and then you have to pass a regent order. Officers have to be firm and considerate. They are dishonest and they are serving their masters. And now, lastly, let us come down to the people. Most of them may be, some of them may be absolutely honest and right, but there are fellows who think they will bribe someone and get away. These are the four aspects that are compounding us. And thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain, for calling us. Tejinder Bedi, you put out a petition on change.org. You said that senior citizens like you cannot be expected to change their cars every 10 and 15 years. It's simply not possible, given that you're on a pension. Help me understand why you decided to, go to social media and go to change.org to put out this petition.
I thought that this is one platform through which, working through my networking, I'll be able to garner good support. And I'm quite satisfied. And through your channel, through your platform, I want to thank all the 56,000 plus people who are supporting my petition. Now, why did I start with the senior citizens as a segment? You know, I'm 70 years old. Towards the fag end of my career, I had bought a car which had done 14 years of company with me and doing just about 70,000 kilometers. Now, with such a law coming, there was no option left with me except to, you know, go for a distress sale. And I got less than 1/3 of the price return which I should have otherwise got if I was really going to change it. My point is, not only the senior citizens, for all the car owners, the basic rule, the basic policy condition should be that so long as the PUC conditions are met, the fitness standards are met, the aging of the vehicle should have no value. And especially for the senior citizens, they should not be expected to, you know, consume all the money for replacing their old cars with the new cars, with the cost of which is so high.
Good point. I can quickly take in 3 more callers, all calling us from Delhi. Samir, let's start with you. Please go ahead. Good evening.
Yeah, Shreya, so let me tell you what is my experience. I live in a society in Mayur Vihar where I have covered parking, where I parked my car, which was obviously beyond 15 years. It was a petrol car. So what happened, one of these days, one of the guard rushed in and said that they're taking out your car outside. So when I went there was a policeman, there was a MC, these guys, I don't remember, they were not in uniform. But they just was putting in the crane and then pulling out the vehicle. And I didn't even get the time to take out my stuff even. This was the kind of attitude that these guys had. And subsequently, they gave me a letter saying that you had to go to somewhere. There's a single agency where you have to basically go there and ask for pittance, whatever they are going to give you. So this is how, basically there are a couple of things. One is that, see the way that they are treating it. There's no notice being given. You're suddenly being given a experience that you have, something is being pulled out. And subsequently, you're not getting anything. It's just pittance that they gave us. I could have taken out the parts and maybe sold it separately. That is one of those issues that the way they have handled it is absolutely unacceptable, I think. That's not the right way to do it. So that's my...
Samir, actually, that is exactly the point we are trying to make through this campaign, that there is a way to handle everything. You cannot handle things in such a ham-handed manner, where a car is parked inside the gates of a housing society. Someone has clearly tipped off the transport department. And money has certainly changed hands in a scenario like this. And you don't serve a citizen a notice and you simply come and pick up the car. That is not how you treat citizens in this country. Governments have to know better and they have to do better, more importantly. Anil Sood, you're calling us from Delhi. Good evening. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Shreya. I have done a lot of research on this order itself. This is a fraud played on citizens by IIT Kanpur one Dr. Mukesh Sharma and CPCB. Those who have filed the wrong affidavit in NGT that pollution is only because of cars. There are 4 more sources of pollution which IIT Kanpur has said that it does not pollute. So entire pollution of other sources has been passed on to the pollution by cars. So this order needs to be reviewed. I have also filed a petition in Supreme Court which is pending till today. Not even single lawyer is prepared to touch this issue. This is a fraud on citizens. This is a serious fraud on taxpayers.
Okay.
And this is a fraud on the fundamental rights also. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Look, the fact is that Delhi has a pollution problem, and my God, does it have a pollution problem. Do we want the Delhi government and the NGT and Supreme Court to take steps to make our air better? Yes, we do need them to take those steps. But is that how you take steps? By harassing citizens and intimidating them? Certainly not. Also, there is a lot of disquiet over the order itself and over the policy itself. But today we are just sticking to how the transport department is going about this drive. We have Aditya who's calling us from New Delhi as well. Aditya, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening, Shreya. So basically, the thing is that, I completely agree with everything you're saying. My father had a beautiful car, well-maintained, 15 years old, passing all pollution control checks, but it had to be scrapped. He sold it to one of the online retailers for scrapping. And what happened after that was that 2 years later, he sold it 2 years ago for scrapping. He gave it for scrapping. And 2 years ago, suddenly after 2 years, he's got a message from a Toyota dealership in Punjab saying that thank you for servicing your car over here. So obviously the vehicle has not been scrapped even though it was taken for scrapping. So there's some kind of scam going on. Vehicle was taken for scrapping, was not scrapped, and is now being used by somebody in Punjab, even though it's beyond the 15-year-old period. It's a beautiful car, very well maintained, automatic. I can understand why. It is being used, but obviously there's a scam going on. My dad has been defrauded of his car. It's been taken away from him and somebody else is using it. Somebody's made money on it.
100% a scam is on. 100% a scam is on. Aditya, thank you very much for calling us and sharing this particular incident with us. Because I hope Delhi's Chief Minister, I hope someone, in the powers that be is hearing this. That your father's car was taken for scrappage to the scrapyard. And from Punjab, 2 years later, he gets a message that says, thank you for servicing your car at our workshop. Guys, someone is making money here. Girish, you're calling us from New Delhi. Please go ahead. Good evening.
Shreya, I want to make a limited point. It appears that the transfer department is coming down heavily on the... I just want to make a limited point. It appears that the transport department...
Girish, what will help is that you reduce the audio of the television screen.
From the old city, Nongri, Sultanpur, any of those areas? Why can't the law be same for everybody?
It's true. Maximum vehicles that have been picked up for impounding and scrappage is from South Delhi. As far as data is concerned, you're absolutely correct, Girish. Thank you very much. Ajay, you're calling us from Gurugram. Please go ahead.
My thing is, I have a car which is hardly run only 10,000 kilometers. It is due in 26. It is valid up to 26. Now you tell me, should they scrap it? And a few years back, they had given some...
Absolutely not.
I must say, they had given some instructions that you can go to the transport department, get a certificate, and again extend the life. But what is it? Suddenly one day, and why don't you touch the commercial vehicles, which are more this thing?
Look, the order is A for everyone, but I know that private citizens are the ones who are being harassed the most because I think that is where the maximum money will probably be made. Can I get in Dilip Cherian here? Dilip Cherian, look, there is disquiet about discarding 10-year-old vehicles and 15-year-old vehicles. Here is a gentleman telling us that 10,000 kilometer bhi nahi chadi hai meri gaadi, and in 2026, I will have to scrap it. For what joy? It's in good running condition. It's not polluting. And I know it's not polluting because we have a pollution under control certificate. Why should I scrap it? So there is disquiet over the policy in any case. Anyone who wants to come to Delhi from any part of the country, and if their diesel vehicle is more than 10 years old and if their petrol vehicle is more than 15 years old, they cannot even enter the NCR region. That is one thing. But, my concern today is the way the drive is being implemented in Delhi.
I think there are both points which we need to pay attention to. One is the law itself. And I think that as a channel, you've taken the position that you are respecting and willing to abide by the way NGT and the Supreme Court have interpreted it. But aside from that, the operational part, there are big issues. Now there is a third issue, is what should the basis be for scrapping? If it is indeed about pollution, then it should be about how polluting these cars are. Not that will reduce the harassment of the citizen, because then the pollution control guys are the guys who have a handle on you. So let's look at basics. And I think that where citizens are gathered together, like on this issue, I think it deserves a relook at the policy itself. And I think that that would be the right thing to do, because you are harassing innocent citizens. You're actually trampling on the right to property, and you're trampling on fundamental rights, therefore. So I think that this is a fair case which needs to be examined both from a technical and technological point of view, from a pollution point of view, but also a good in law kind of view.
And Dilip, many of our viewers would probably know this, but the Supreme Court order is just, by the way, also at odds with the government order under the Motor Vehicles Act, because they tell us that as far as the scrappage policy is concerned, under the MVA, for private citizens, it will be 20 years. And then the question is, you know, what do we listen to? Do we listen to the Supreme Court, or do we listen to the Government of India? So they are at odds there as well. I do believe we have more callers, and we have callers from Bangalore, if I'm not mistaken. So let me go ahead and speak to them as well. Vishwesh, you're calling us from Bangalore. Good evening. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when I was watching your channel news. I did realize that there are thousands of cars from Delhi registration being brought to Bangalore and being sold. You know, it's been repaired and it is sold. Now, one of the gentlemen did say that his dad's car was in very good condition and you know, well maintained, and it went for scrapping. I think it's a huge mafia which has been happening, which is hand in glove with the government. It is not without the government's knowledge. As like airfares, what they've been doing, they are hand in glove with everything. Everything they are, in any case you try to see that they've been harassing right from Notebandi to the car bandi, like, you know, take the car out, scrap it, and where does a normal citizen does he have that kind of money that he or she can go and buy a car every second day? Okay, I've got money, I've got filthy rich. Okay, I'll go and throw another car and I'll go and pick up another one. Where does a salaried person go to buy a new car in 10 years? By the time he tries to enjoy the car usage of the car, by the time his car is already old, then which has to be scrapped. Where do a normal citizen like me or anybody in your where do they stand? Government is running buses across India, which is more polluting. You know, you go behind them. You got to put face masks because of their amount of pollution that they create using the diesel. Who is responsible?
You know, here's what I find interesting. A vehicle cannot fly.
Then why should
a vehicle cannot fly in Delhi because it's polluting, but that same vehicle can fly in Bangalore. So it's okay not to pollute Delhi, but it's okay to pollute Bangalore or any other part of the country. Thank you very much for calling us. Sonica, you are someone who's petitioned the Supreme Court as well. Is this, and you have spoken to many such people whose vehicles have been impounded, etc. I want to know from you why you went to court and whether this angle of, you know, someone in the middle of this making money is something that has come to you as well, because a lot of our citizens who are calling us, a lot of our viewers who are calling us, seem to be suggesting it.
First of all, there are two angles to this issue. Firstly, the legal angle, and secondly, our common concern. So the legal angle says that Motor Vehicles Act should be including this. Till date, there is no such rules mentioned in Motor Vehicles Act that says that this should be scrapped after this many years. They haven't since 2018, or before that, even 2015, there was a judgment which says that that's the inception of all these things. Right, one caller pointed out that it started from IIT Kanpur during a research. This has been found. So it started from there, and then the NGT orders, then the Supreme Court. Then comes the rules. So rules are not been made till date. So there's another angle which our petition included, that is the rule point. Another thing is that that's the same question, that smog is there everywhere. Whenever there is winter, smog is there everywhere. Since I come from Calcutta, I have seen smoggy weather. So there the vehicles are running. It's in recent time that they have started banning those vehicles, which is much later than NCR. So during that much period of time, people what used to do in NCR, they used to transfer all this vehicles to Calcutta or any other place, native place like Rajasthan, Lucknow, or to the south. So technically speaking, those people who are living there, they don't have lungs and they don't have their own body strength. So people in Delhi NCR only were so sensitive that all these vehicles should be impounded and banned. Until date, there is no process of registration and deregistration that has been done in a smooth way, or that has been done by the Supreme Court. So, even in 2018 judgment,
and there is a senior citizen who called us.
Less than 2% of vehicles.
For me, Sonica, what hits me is the fact that a senior citizen had called us earlier on the show, and I think his audio was bad, but this is what he was saying. He's saying that, look, my car was impounded. No one told me. Forget no one telling me. It happened during my absence. No one even sent me a receipt. Another gentleman calls and says his father's car was impounded similarly for being scrapped. And 2 years later, he gets a call from Punjab from a workshop saying, thank you for, servicing your car in our workshop. So there is some Gorak Danda that is going on here. Sanjeev,
and
you're calling us from New Delhi. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Also.
Give me a minute, Sonika. Let's quickly go across to our callers as well. Sanjeev, you're calling us from Delhi. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a 2001 model car. It has done only 68,000 kilometers. But right from 2016 onward, I cannot run this car because it had already covered 15 years of service. Now, coming to the point of it's a polluting car or a non-polluting car, I am getting a mileage of, say, approximately 19 kilometers per liter of this car. Of course, it is 2001 model car and done 68,000 kilometers. But I cannot run in Delhi. And moreover, in Delhi, if I want to take it outside of state, then they will say, okay, it has already covered 15 years. We want to issue NOC for this car. Even I cannot re-register it in any other state also. They are saying that, okay, if you have come to us within 15 years, we could have issued you no objection certificate for re-registering it any other state. But I cannot run it. I just have parked in my garage now. And moreover, you go to any other civilized country, whether in West or in USA, you will find plenty of cars which are more than 25 years old. They go for this MOT. Like every year they go for their fitness certificate, and you get the fitness certificate and you can run your car for 1 more year. Every year you pay your fees. It is non-polluting car, and there is no problem. Moreover, this by the scrapping of these old vehicles, you have made redundant of our workshop owners. They cannot repair the car in NCR. Moreover, they have made this workshop totally useless. Not useless, but they are without any job, without any work. Moreover, this like our spare parts shops, they are just idle. They don't
true,
have
and
work,
the point is, Dhananjay, the point also is that look at the cars we use now. I'm not saying like in the olden days, you used your ambassador car for 30 years, you use your car for 30 years as well. Maybe you want to, maybe you don't want to. But the fact is, look at the way our cars are built. This is cutting-edge technology. These cars are expected to last a long, long time. They are built to last. That is how they are built. And you're telling us to scrap them between 10 and 15 years. Dhananjay, okay, we'll leave it there for the moment. Dhananjay, you're calling us from Bangalore. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Shreya, thanks for airing such programs from your channel. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dhananjay. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Loud and clear.
these policies look more like the policies which are forced down us by some external authorities rather than the governments which are ruling us. If you look at the developed nations, developed nations follow the same policies of scrapping vehicles beyond certain period of time. Almost all the policies what we are seeing in India right now are almost like the policies which are being followed in developed countries, say America.
Correct.
So you look at anything, this world, what we are seeing is changing very fast. Beyond what we had seen, till probably till COVID. Picking up vehicles, without owner's permission looks like the patients picked up without any concern, during lockdown period. And all these things, whatever the policies which are coming up now are being forced upon us. It is nowhere we have any choice of choosing anything anymore.
Okay. Okay, Dhananjay, thank you for calling us. That is a citizen boy calling us from Bangalore. Rao Sahib is calling us from Pune. Rao Sahib, please go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Go ahead, Rao Sahib.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening to all viewers. Hello.
Yes, good evening to you, Rao Sahib, as well. Please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. Now the government's today's policies and the whole 4 to 5 years policies are completely in wrong directions. Modi government is totally fail on that. I am your regular viewer on the aviation issue, railway, and now this car issue.
Okay. Rao Sahib, here's the thing. The order was an NGT order and it was upheld by the Supreme Court. In fact, the Government of India's order actually says that private vehicles can only be scrapped after 20 years from June 1st, 2024. So that's where things stand. Thank you very much for calling us in any case, and thank you for being a regular viewer of Mirror Now. We really appreciate it. Vibhor, you're calling us from Noida, NCR, and then we have Gaurav calling us from Gurugram, again NCR, Bhukt Bhogis as it were. Vibhor, go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Good evening, Vibhor.
Hello, Shreya. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Vibhor.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So what I wanted to make a point was the common man is the one who suffers always. It has been like this and it will be always like this. So I understand, as you were saying, that this is an NGT order, it's a Supreme Court order. Then the Government of India, on behalf of the common citizens, should have represented and challenged this order. The way to control pollution is not by lifting up people's vehicles, putting these laws without any thought. If pollution is to be controlled, we need to make our pollution control system much more robust. Each vehicle, even if you want to implement 10 or 15 years for a diesel or a petrol vehicle, that vehicle should be taken to a government approved and quality control pollution center where you see what is the quality of the exhaust fume. If it is well within limits, it should be given another extension of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. And if it is not meeting those prescribed standards in a government authorized and quality control pollution center, then it should be scrapped. Not a blanket rule like this, that if it is 10 years for diesel, if it is 15 years for petrol, you just scrap that vehicle. There are many people like me who like to keep their vehicle in very good condition. And even after 10 or 12 years, they would be much better than someone's vehicle which he has driven only for 2 or 3 years, because I'm a conscious user and I like to keep my vehicle in a very good condition. So the way to go about is should be very much different than what is being done right now. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vibhor, and thank you, Vibhor. And what needs to get better is what needs to get perhaps better is the way we check pollutions in our vehicle, the way we check pollution. I mean, for example, I can be sitting here in the studio with my car parked in the basement, and someone can come and deliver a PUC certificate to me right here without my car ever being checked. That is how the system works right now. Gaurav, you're calling us from Gurugram. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Would just like to say, honesty in this country really doesn't pay. If you see all the fancy cars, 80-90% of them are registered either in Himachal or in Uttarakhand. For someone who paid full registration, got this car registered in Haryana or in Delhi, after 9.5 years, 10 years, you have an accident over your head. Your car may be in immaculate condition. You don't really want to sell it, but you don't have an option. And after 10 years, you can't sell it anywhere else. If I stay in Delhi, I get my car fudgily registered somewhere in Himachal or in Uttarakhand, giving a false address, which all the dealers were doing till a few months back. I think now they've rationalized the registration fees. Those people are happily driving their cars. There's no issue at all.
But wasn't the fact that, if there is any vehicle older than 10 years for diesel and, older than 15 years for petrol, any such vehicle from any other state cannot enter Delhi or drive in Delhi? I mean, there's that rule as well here. Anyhow, let's move on to our other callers. We have another caller from Gurugram and we have one from Bhilai as well. Soumyajit, you're calling us from Bhilai. Good evening. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just, firstly, I would like to thank you all for taking up these points. This is a ridiculous kind of a law that the government has made. You cannot define the health of a vehicle by number of years that it has been there after manufacturing. These are all engineering products. These are not a jewelry or these are not the clothes that you wear. These are engineering products. The health of the equipment or the health of the machinery is checked by an engineer. And when you go for a PUC, it gives you various points. People don't know what the PUC gives you, the certifications. I got it done just 2 days back. The number of points that are given, your carbon, it's like carbon monoxide or sulfur dioxide or your carbon dioxide that is being emitted out by the vehicle. So those are defined by that PUC certificates. Now you can always keep a check on those points that how much the emission is taking out from your vehicle, and you can reduce it by cleaning your throttle body.
Correct.
In earlier vehicles there were carburetors. Now in today's vehicle there are no carburetor. You have the throttle body. I myself have got my throttle body cleaned a few months back. Now people can do this and they can reduce the carbon emission. And who says that a car which is say 15 years old creates carbon footprints? Carbon footprint is created by the thermal power stations from where you are taking the electricity at your home and you are charging your EVs. And how EV is going to help you? This is a ridiculous law that the government has made by creating this EV law. EV is not at all going to help you. Where will you put those garbages of EV batteries when they will be getting old? Those batteries, and each batteries, they cost you so much.
Yeah.
Why a person will go for EV?
And there's also this whole question about... No, there's also a question about how to produce one EV. To produce one EV, the carbon footprint is way more than producing a petrol car. So that is one point as well that all of us need to remember. Anyhow, we'll leave it there. There are more callers. I'm afraid we won't be able to take our callers. I mean, there are a couple of more callers at least. So we'll continue. I promise to all our viewers this evening that we continue with this campaign because we've heard some horror stories that are coming to us from Delhi. And honestly, you don't want this repeated in any other state. In fact, you want it to stop right away in the capital as well. The high-handedness with which the transport department is going around with this drive of impounding vehicles, overage vehicles, and then supposedly selling them to the scrapyard, sending them to the scrapyard. In many cases, and some of our viewers are telling us, it never makes it to the scrapyard, it makes it to some other state. We'll continue with this campaign. Tamanna, my colleague at 10 p.m. is continuing with it as well. For the moment, to my guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. I thought it was more important to take citizen voices, so we couldn't come too much to you. So thank you very much for your patience as well. And thank you to our viewers for calling us this evening. It's a wrap from me. The news at 9 is up next. Do stay with us.